Please, order in the hall.
With everything going on right now, allow yourself this moment of joy, as on the 80th anniversary of the UN's General Assembly, more than 100 diplomats from over 50 countries walked out on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as he entered the hall to give his speech. Now, you may be experiencing deja vu, as I covered this thing exactly a year ago when this also happened, though the walkout appears to be a little more widespread this time, and some of the speeches that I'll get to, or at least in particular one speech from the president of Colombia, is incredibly forceful and is really calling on other countries to do something in a real way, and I'm going to play that. It's an incredible speech. But I also have to show you again, this is a different time now. This is happening a second time. But it's definitely worth watching the various angles and the look on Netanyahu's face as this happens again. But before I get to those various angles and a lot more in this video, I just want to show you how he had to get to New York, as he had to fly a circuitous route to the UN summit to avoid arrest in Europe. This is incredible. So as The Guardian writes here, this is the route he had to take, avoiding Europe completely. As they write, the Wing of Zion, Israel's equivalent of the U.S. Air Force One, did cross territory over Greece and Italy, but then turned south toward the Strait of Gibraltar before heading across the Atlantic. The Israeli government did not give an official reason for the routing, although Israeli media reported it was to avoid overflying a country that would be obligated to arrest him. Shorter, more fuel-efficient routes may have flown across France, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, and the UK. Those countries have all signed the ICC statute and would be legally required to arrest and surrender Netanyahu to the Hague-based court if he entered their territory. Just good to be reminded that the world's not crazy, that the vast majority of countries are on the right side, even if they're not doing enough, doing as much as they could, they're on the right side. Of course, the big issue being the U.S. is the massive barrier to any kind of progress, the fact that they have veto power, and we'll get to a clip when we get to the leader of Finland who discusses the insanity of that. But let's get to the first angle of this walkout. It is just a fun thing to watch.
Please, order in the hall.
You love to see it. Now, I did cut it down a bit there. It goes on for a while, but I really wanted to get to a zoom in of Jackass's face there. So the Washington Post actually has another angle, or I should say an angle that's where you see more of Adolf. Here is here's Jackass himself.
Order in the hall.
What a clown.
Please, order in the hall. And please be seated.
Look at those empty seats. Evil personified. So here is a fantastic photo. The empty seats. Tells you a lot. And here is an angle from the actual walkout.
First time.
Good for them. There's absolutely no reason for anyone to hear what Netanyahu has to say. A war criminal under an ICC arrest warrant, which, by the way, any news report about Netanyahu should frame it that way. It should be in the headline. War criminal has this to say. Because I'm seeing a lot of headlines right now about Netanyahu's really angry at this country or this country or this country. Why should we care? If you want to print what he's angry about, fine. But give us the context of who the man is up front. Tell your audience, this is somebody who was under an arrest warrant for war crimes. So, given that context, sure, we can hear what he has to say, but understand what you're dealing with. So, I'll just give you this since I have no interest in playing any of his speech. Netanyahu tells UN that the war will continue amid global backlash. Again, not a war, A war assumes the other side has a military. There is no military in Gaza. This is a genocide. Israel is facing deepening global opposition, which the prime minister attributed to anti-Semitism, which is fucking hilarious, and libelous lies. Yeah, okay. So there's also a walkout outside the UN. Thousands of New Yorkers taken to the streets demanding an end to the genocide in Palestine and calling for the arrest of war criminal Netanyahu. A lot of people out. Which, we'll get to Italy in a second here, but that was part of the reason why they are now doing what they are doing. But first, I got to show you a clip from this incredible speech. This is the president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, who, this is not in the clip that I'm going to show you, but I will read this. There is no superior race. There is no chosen people of God. It is neither the U.S. nor Israel. The chosen people of God is all of humanity. Here is this speech that was translated on screen, I assume by this account here, People's Dispatch, so credit to them for posting the translation. This is fantastic.
Washington y la OTAN matan la democracia y hacen renacer la tiranía y el totalitarismo a nivel global. La ONU tiene que cambiar ya. Una ONU diferente, humana. Debe antes que nada detener el genocidio de Gaza. La humanidad no puede permitir ni un día más de genocidio, ni a los genocidas de Netanyahu ni sus aliados en Estados Unidos e Europa, dejarlos libres. La diplomacia ya acabó su papel, señores, en el caso de Gaza. No pudo solucionarlo. No es cierto, y me disculpa Macron, que podamos insistir y insistir en hablar y en hablar cuando cada segundo cae un misil y destroza los cuerpos de bebés inocentes, bebés niños y bebés niñas en el país árabe de Palestina. Cada día de mociones vetadas en el Consejo de Seguridad de la ONU, cada día que pasa, son más los niños bombardeados. El genocidio debe parar con lo que sigue a la diplomacia. Es con una votación de la Asamblea de las Naciones Unidas, ¿sí? Y no con una votación del Consejo de Seguridad, que vetan. Es con una Uniting for Peace para Palestina, conformando una fuerza armada para defender la vida del pueblo palestino. Es un ejército poderoso de los países que no aceptan el genocidio. Por eso invito a las naciones del mundo y a sus pueblos sobre todo, como parte de la humanidad, a unir ejércitos y armas. Ya sobran las palabras. Es la hora de la espada, de la libertad o muerte de Bolívar, porque no solo van a bombardear a Gaza, no solo al Caribe como ya lo hacen. Los Estados Unidos ya no enseñan democracia, sino que la matan en sus migrantes y su codicia. Estados Unidos enseñan tiranía.
It's notable that a speech like this is rare and really stands out. World leaders should have this kind of passion for humanity, for innocent lives, and they should have this kind of anger towards fascists, towards authoritarians. Yet it is so rare to see it displayed in this kind of way. So, incredible stuff there. And I want to get to a few more examples of other countries in ways that they're pushing back against Israel in ways that we haven't seen before. So Spain, though I guess we've seen this twice before, but they've canceled a third major defense deal with Israel as trade ban takes effect. Good on them. Also, Israel, or I should say Italy and Spain, deploy ships to help Gaza aid flotilla targeted in drone attack. This is something that I really was not expecting. When I heard that there were ships, that other countries were sending ships to guide the flotilla to protect them, I was stunned. This really is a major step, because it's one that I didn't even imagine was something that any of these countries would have considered. And keep in mind, this has to at least partly be due to the massive strike that was taking place in Italy. Clashes break out as Italians strike demanding action over Gaza. This was just 4 days ago. A few days later, they have this ship going out to protect the flotilla. So that has to play a part here. As well, it's worth mentioning, Italy's prime minister is far right. This is not some progressive. Maloney is not, some bleeding heart liberal. This is somebody who, when elected, there was fears that this was going to be like another Trump. Yet, even she has been forced to come to terms with what Israel is doing. And let's be clear, I don't think it's out of the goodness of her heart. It's largely because of both the citizens in Italy, but also apparently her own government has stood up against her and have asked for more to be done here. So she gave this speech, one that, again, I would never have thought would be given by this leader.
Every state and every people has the right to defend itself, but the response to aggression must always respect the principle of proportionality. This applies to individuals and all the more so to states. And Israel has exceeded that limit with a large-scale war disproportionately involving the Palestinian civilian population. And it is in crossing this limit that the Jewish state has ended up violating humanitarian norms, causing a massacre among civilians. This choice, which Italy has repeatedly deemed unacceptable, will lead us to vote in favor of some of the sanctions proposed by the European Commission against Israel.
All right. Good. There's movement even with far-right leaders. Now, a few last things worth mentioning here. Microsoft blocks Israel's use of its technology in mass surveillance of Palestinians. This only came about because of the journalism that revealed this, that led to this, as well as employees within Microsoft in various divisions coming out against their own company, stating their concerns with this. So finally, after all that pressure, after all the reporting, they are now blocking Israel's use of the technology. Really good to see that. And European soccer body UEFA moves toward vote to suspend Israel. Awesome. This has to also play a part, the cultural boycott of Israel. So yes, in terms of the ability for countries to stop arms sales, for example, are clearly have a direct impact. But ensure this country is a pariah on the world stage, because they cannot be treated as an equal when they are doing what they are doing. Last thing here, and this is great, a great call, though of course it has not led to anything yet. But this is the leader of Finland calling to eliminate the veto power that the U.S. has. Because what is the point of the United Nations when you can have one country come in and be like, no, it's ridiculous? So here's a bit of that speech.
No single state should have a veto power. And if a member of the Security Council violates the UN Charter, its voting rights should be suspended. I believe that these changes at the top of the UN are necessary in order to maintain the UN's central role in international relations.
And I hope those calls continue from other countries. So I want to give credit there. That is Finnish President Alexander Stubb. I didn't have his name earlier. So Alexander Stubb calling for those reforms. Really good to see that. Now you could ask, how could they get that done when the U.S. currently has veto power, when they just veto the attempt to veto their veto power? That's a little confusing. But whatever. We have to dream that a better world is possible, because if we don't try and imagine what things could be, then we're never going to have any hope of getting to a better place.